Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures Podcast. We're here to bring you the latest and greatest geeky news of the week. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and we've got this is a little bit of a so outside of Nintendo news, not a whole lot of news happening, but some big news happening. So yeah, oh boy, and stuff happening like today. So, yeah, some really, really big stuff happening. So our topic for this episode, our deep dive for this episode is going to be talking about Smash Brothers Ultimate. So if you haven't heard the news already, and don't want it spoiled, like there was a presentation yesterday. I don't know, but we're going to talk about that. Because the final character was revealed. So that is going and sort of a look back on some of the kind of big moments from Smash Brothers Ultimate and some of the big reveals is going to be a topic on this episode of the podcast. So we are definitely going to get into that. So hope everyone's been doing well. And why don't we get started? All right, so first up, Twitch itself suffered massive data leak that included it's like the source code for the entire platform, payouts to top earners, theoretically things like passwords, stream keys. There's no telling how the breadth of the information goes exactly. Looks like it was focused as like an activist thing, so it seems like the intent at least was to give out information related to Twitch as a business. But as always, like, it's very easy for these things to get out of hand. So if you're a Twitch user, change your passwords. Also, enable two-factor authentication that uses an app, not SMS, because apparently that was leaked as well. Like, that algorithm. So yeah, it's big. If you are a streamer, like myself, also make sure to change to reset your stream key, because those are apparently not hashed, which is bad. So yeah, don't wait to do that stuff, folks. Of note, and this is causing some freak out from the community, Critical Role, people are saying surprisingly, perhaps unsurprisingly, top earner on Twitch. I don't know what the time period was, but they made something around 9.6 million in Twitch subscriptions. I mean, I'm gonna just look this up to see if anybody noted. Of course, Eurogamer. Since August 2019. Okay. So in the past 2 years, so since August 2019, they've made 9.6 million. So let's do some math, right? So August, so September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August 2020 is 12 months. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We'll say that. Okay. So we're looking at 25 months. So 9.6 million divided by 25. I mean, that's about $384,000 a month in Twitch subs, which is kind of in line with their average viewership. So that's not surprising to me. But yeah, basically a lot of folks are freaking out about it because of just the latest dialogue about Critical Role as a company, but also who a lot of the other top earners are, noting a bit of a lack of diversity. You know, the same stuff that has been hashed over and over again. But yeah, so PSA, change your passwords, enable two-factor authentication, change your stream keys, maybe take a look at what services Twitch is connected with. Possibly need to refresh those as well. So, all right. That's the biggest news. That broke like today. So, it's pretty big. No indication as to what this means for the future of Twitch as a platform. Now that all of the code that it runs on is out in the public. So, yeah, there's really no telling. All right, next up, the IATSE. We've reported on this before. This is sort of the film and theater, like film, television, and theater crew union, called for a vote as to whether to give the union president authorization to call a strike. Over 53,000 members participated in the vote and voted yay in favor of giving authorization to call a strike, overwhelmingly with over 98% voting in favor of that. So it is up to the union president, Matt Loeb. I don't know how, Loeb, I don't know how that's pronounced. If negotiations are not panning out, can call for a strike. And then the entire entertainment industry shuts down. So something to note is now it could happen, folks. All right, this would be monumental. So here's hoping for everyone involved that film studios decide to come back to the table and meet labor demands, which weren't unreasonable, since many of them were involving safety and work hours. So, but yeah, so that, a strike could be coming. We don't know. It's just that the unions overwhelmingly are in favor of it, if need be. So that's the takeaway here. All right, next up, God of War Ragnarok. Kratos' voice actor Christopher Judge apparently claimed. So the game's been delayed to 2022, but claimed that the game was delayed on account of him needing multiple surgeries, and the developer wanted to accommodate that. So they pushed extra time to allow him to. This is at least what he's claiming. This has not been approved by the development studio or anything, but yeah, like major surgeries, like lower back surgery, knee surgery, hip surgery. So first off, hope he's doing okay, because those are major surgeries and long recovery time. But also it's nice that a developer was willing to make those accommodations, and push back a very highly anticipated game. So, yeah, another example of, I mean, this is like a case of a development studio doing the right thing, whereas in many cases, like, there's been plenty of instances where studios did not do the right thing. So, All right. But I want to throw that in there. Again, that's not super big news compared to like the other stuff that happened, but it was shaping up to be a light news week. So, all right. So next up, Sora is finally here. Sora from Kingdom Hearts has been revealed as the final character for Smash Bros. Ultimate. We are also getting a Doomslayer Mii costume, as well as a surprise announcement that they let Sakurai do is Kingdom Hearts 1 through 3 are coming to Switch as cloud gaming titles. So what this means is that like you won't it's difficult to like you won't actually like download the whole game to your system and play it off of your system. Is like you will stream the game and essentially like you're paying for access to the game. And what this does is we've seen this before with things like Resident Evil 7 and other titles where it's stuff that like would not necessarily run well on Switch, and so they do this streaming technology that allows the Switch to run these games, because essentially like there's another system that is handling a lot of the processing. So but yeah, it was the fact that they like kind of buried that announcement inside of a Smash Brothers announcement that I thought was pretty interesting. So but we're going to talk about this later during our deep dive. But for now, Sora is finally here. Final character. They're done. No more. Sakurai's done. His watch has ended. So that's it for Smash Brothers for this generation. So, also like a whole bunch of new spirits and stuff, which they always do for new fighters. That's not necessarily anything exciting, but all right. Last up for our quickfire news segment, Sylveon has been released to Pokemon Unite. Sylveon is a ranged special attacker, which little overtuned right now, I might say. A lot of folks are sort of hoping that there will be a patch coming soon to kind of take a look at the balance for Sylveon. So of note is this does kind of answer the question as to whether Eevee will be included in Pokemon Unite. So Eevee is. Now it opens up the dialogue of, are we going to see any other evolutions? How's that going to work? Yada, yada, yada. But yeah, Eevee or Sylveon's attacks include like Draining Kiss. Oh geez. I think Disarming Voice is one of them. So focusing a lot on like they're leaning into fairy type attacks. Calm Mind is one of them. So yeah, very interesting to play. And Mystical Fire is the last one. I only did a practice mode. Very fun. But I think they might be doing the sort of tried and true MOBA strategy of like releasing something that's a little overpowered and then scaling back shortly after release to like get people to like buy the character and then nerf it later. So but yeah, so that is live in the game right now. 11,000 coins to purchase. So one of the more expensive ones, and is labeled as an intermediate level ranged special attacker. So okay. Now it's time for the deep dive. All right, so for the deep, we're going to talk about Smash Brothers Ultimate, just because it's been what 3 years, I think 3-4 years, 89 fighters, There are 89 possible I think that includes me costumes that are specific to certain games. So things like Doomslayer, um, Monster Hunter, Geno, things like that. But also, I mean, it's just the breadth of characters in this game. And some of the characters were completely nobody expected. I think with the exception of memes like Waluigi, all of the stuff that if people have been asking for in the past eventually made it into this game. So, I mean, it just the stuff that we got, I am continuously shocked by, right? Like we got Sora, which requires working with both Square Enix and Disney in order to get the rights to. We got Snake back. We got Banjo Kazooie. We got King K. Rool. We got Dragon Quest representation with the hero. Just all sorts. And in terms of stuff like we didn't expect to see, we got Pyra and Mithra, which was interesting in that like people were asking for Rex, and they decided not to include Rex, and instead go with like the weird not support characters from that game. But it's just a lot of the extra characters. Man, just real. I remember watching the initial reveal for King K. Rool. There's a YouTube channel where they take videos of like events that happen at the Nintendo World Store in New York City. And at the Nintendo World Store, they will live stream like Nintendo Directs, or did, prior to the pandemic. And what they would do is they put it on a projection screen, they, gather everybody in the room and everything, and watching the crowd absolutely lose it, during like E3 presentations and Nintendo Directs and stuff when like they showed King K. Rool, when they showed Banjo Kazooie, when they showed Sans, like the Sans outfit was wild. Like you could feel the energy coming out of that room. It was great. And I think this is the most ambitious crossover undertaking in video game history. I mean, there's I don't know if there's anything that comes close that is an official project, right? Because you get unofficial stuff like VR chat and things. We'll have like people upload skins and stuff into that game that are not licensed at all, and you get all sorts of weird crossovers. But like for this to actually go through the licensing and all of the official channels and working with people, getting original composers, getting remixers and everything involved to bring in music as well, it's huge. And the fact that it's sort of become this monumental experience just goes to show like how much effort and how much of a passion project this was, in addition to like a good business decision for Sakurai. This ultimately started as just wanting to make a fighting game that he felt didn't that you could play with folks who weren't super technical at fighting games, and they would still have a chance. Like he was playing with a friend of his, and felt really bad about like beating them so badly, and wanted to like equalize a little bit, so creating more of a party brawling game, and that's what led to Smash Brothers, and now it's turned into this whole thing, and essentially its own franchise. But even adding little tidbits here and there of like that he also helped create Kirby, and that's why, you know, Kirby ends up being the character that like you take through the story mode in Ultimate. um just little bits like that. uh so so let's go through uh the roster. So does this go? Yeah. Okay, so it's 82, technically 82 fighters. So that means that there's like 7 fighters that are or 7 games or fighters that are represented via Mii costumes. So, um, I mean, I think the big one, you know, King K. Rool was a big one. The return of Pokemon Trainer, uh, you know, the return of like fan favorites like Mewtwo. Um, I think Ryu and Ken were a big deal. Ridley was a big deal. Simon Belmont was a big deal. And then just some weird stuff like Piranha. Nobody was expecting Piranha Plant. Nobody. And then for Piranha Plant to come out and be like this actually really interesting fighter is just wild. Joker, nobody saw that happening. Nobody saw Joker happening. You know, Persona being like very ingrained into PlayStation. Like, you know, like Cloud and Sephiroth, you know. So Cloud like was a returning fighter. But like when Cloud was first announced in past generations, like it kind of had the same effect of like, oh man, like we're getting Cloud, or we're getting Ryu. And then, you know, for Sephiroth as well, like it made sense that we already had Cloud. You know, Terry was an interesting choice, like, you know, representing other fighting genres. Kazuya from Tekken, like it's wild. And then Steve and Alex from Minecraft. Like there's Minecraft in Smash Brothers. Like that still. There's just a lot that blows, but like this happened. uh like it actually happened. Like Banjo Kazooie, you know, was like, man, it would be great if they could, but you know, they got to work with Microsoft on that. And they made it happen. So it was great. And then the reveal too was like when they first did, like they did the same things. You know, they did the King K. Rool trailer when like they showed him. They showed the silhouette and everything, and then it turns out, you know, they did King DDD, and everybody was like the reaction was like, no, like you can't do that, and then when they revealed like, no, it's actually happening, crowd went wild. So then when they repeated that for Banjo Kazooie, everybody was like when the silhouette first came out, they were like, oh, it's happening again, it's happening again. I think watching those was one of my favorite moments, like one of my favorite E3 moments, like by far. And it's certainly the ones that I remember the most, just because of like how electrifying it was. On the flip side, now I mentioned Waluigi. At least at this point, there won't be, you know, any more folks like jumping into Nintendo Directs and everything asking for Waluigi for Smash, when it has nothing to do with Smash Brothers. Like it got old like 3 years ago, folks. You needed to let go. And when it got bad enough that Sakurai was getting death threats, it was like, it's never going to happen at this point then. Like, you've all sealed that fate there. Like, you can't do that. You can't. So I don't know. And I think perfectly fine to be in the game as an assist trophy. Like, that's where he is. It's also, you know, I think it's a case where people doing something for memes only goes so far. And I don't think it would have gone far enough to actually warrant being included. Because ultimately, not that interesting of a character. I'm going to put it out there. And basically, like, is pretty much only included in ensemble games to provide like a buddy for Wario to round out the roster. So, I mean, in that case, like, it kind of exists as being analogous to Luigi, who pretty much only existed to act like alongside Mario. But Luigi has since been given like his own stuff and you know, to be further fleshed out. And I don't know. I don't know if Waluigi kind of warrants it at all. I also saw some interest in that, like, that there may be a weird licensing issue with Waluigi, because of the fact that he was introduced in a sports game. It might be that, like, it's got to be licensed from maybe like Camelot, I think. Whoever made Mario Tennis. So that puts it in a weird spot too. Like, if it's a Nintendo character technically that like Nintendo didn't come up with, or a Mario character that Nintendo didn't come up with, I don't know. It's a weird thing. Or if that was just speculation and conjecture on their part. But yeah. It's just there's just, man, this roster is really, really something else, and it's something special. It's something. Oh, Sora, by the way, rolls out on the 18th, so in 12 days. So if you have the second fighter DLC pass, he's included in that. And if not, you can pick it up for like about $5, maybe $8 or so. And then you get all the other fighters included as well. Which that one includes, see, what does it start with? 1, 2, 3. There's 12, so there's 6. So it starts with Min Min. And you would also get Steve and Alex, Sephiroth, Pyra Mithra, Kazuya, and Sora. Kind of worth it. So Sora himself uses the Keyblade, does a lot of stuff. They made him very light. He's a very light character with a lot of aerial mechanics. So very similar to, like Yoshi and Jigglypuff. A lot of aerial ability, but is super light. Probably around like Jigglypuff weight. Since like they showed Sora being even lighter than Isabelle, who's pretty light. And Sora's specials are all related to like Final Fantasy magic. So, using fire, thunder, blizzard, or Firaga, Thundaga, Blizzaga. And it like cycles through them. And then using a bunch of like the side special and the up special are like keyblade techniques, and then a counter that like works a little bit differently than other counters, where you can counter projectiles and you like deflect stuff behind you. So ultimately, I think the moves, I think the most interesting, interesting. I was getting intriguing and interesting mixed up. The most, I was gonna do it again. Interesting part of his kit is probably that cycling magic. The rest of it is a little like pretty much like aerial sword fighter, which like, okay, not very difficult conceptually to understand. And there's the argument to be made, he's just another sword fighter, etc., etc. However, was apparently the most requested character on the poll for what character should be included in Smash. That was done last generation. So, I think people would have been less. The people that are upset, I think, would have been less upset were it not for a lot of the other, namely Fire Emblem characters, which I have to say. So let's go through the roster. So out of the 82, because we won't count the costumes, out of the 82, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8. So about 10% of the roster is Fire Emblem. Compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Going through and looking for the Mario characters. 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so 11 Mario characters. So, and that was also including like Yoshi is technically in the game considered as part of his own series. Wario's considered part of his own series. I was lumping them in with that. But that's not including Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong or King K. Rool. So that's also something to consider. I think folks were hoping to see a lot more Legend of Zelda. But I mean, outside of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf, there's not really a whole lot of characters that really make a big scene in that series. Like, what are you gonna put Tingle? No. Like you're not gonna have Tingle. That would be Waluigi level up there. You have Toon Link as well. So, and Young Link. There we go. So you got 3 Links. And you have Zelda, you have Sheik, you have Ganondorf. I think there's some other Zelda stuff that they could have done. Maybe like Vati. Maybe some of the champions, but like they only show up in Breath of the Wild, and that was relatively new at the time. And I feel like they would have just played like a lot of other characters would. So, yeah. Man, oh, it was so great. It was a good run. So, Mr. Sakurai, take as much time as you need. And honestly, if because I think the implication is that like he's now done. Like I don't know if he would come back to do, like whatever the next generation is after the Switch, and they decide to do another Smash Brothers after that. I don't know if he would come back. And honestly, I gotta say, all they would probably really need to do is port this game, like get the licensing deals in place, port this game over. Maybe add in some extra modes. And like that's it. That's all you need. It's a case where Smash Brothers, I think, could work as a games as a service model. Like normally there's a lot of, consternation about that model, but I think Smash Brothers is an example of where it could work. Because, a lot of the changes in a lot of the stuff that's been made between each generation of games has either been optional modes or has been balance tweaks, which are easy enough to do in a games as a service model, like MOBAs do. So yeah, I think that's where they could probably go from there. I mean, you've got 89 fighters, like, unless you're going to lose a bunch in a new generation and not get them back, I don't know if there's really room for a lot more. I mean, it's one thing to have a MOBA, like League, where you end up having, I don't know, 200 or so, but I think that becomes overwhelming. And it becomes a little too overwhelming for what's meant to be. Like, despite the fact that there is a thriving, if unofficial, sort of esport faction of Smash players, the intention was that it was not meant to be a competitive, like super competitive esport title. So I think that might detract from it a little bit. But who knows? I don't have some magic crystal ball. This is just me thinking out loud. But all I know is that at least for now, Sakurai could just take a vacation. He could take a long, well-earned vacation. Because that man works himself to the bone when he's working on projects like this. And he needs a break. He deserves a break. So, all right. I think I've waxed poetically enough about Smash Brothers. So, why don't we get into quest log? All right, so quest log is where we take a geeky goal for the week. We set a goal, we see if we can make that goal, and then we report back the following week. All right, so last week there was a bunch of like role-based event missions for Pokemon Unite, basically to play 10 matches as Pokemon of a specific role. And if you did that for all of the roles, you got a bunch of stuff. So I did do it. It was painful quite a number of times, but I managed to suffer through it and to finish it, just so that I could report back and say that I did it. I did also get the rewards in game for that, so there's that too. So this week's goal is, unfortunately, due to a lot of stuff that was going on last week, and despite the fact that I didn't really stream a lot, I fell behind on putting out sort of the highlight reels for the various streams, as well as I have fallen behind on coloring comics. So the goal is to get caught up. Now, the good news is I finished editing one video, and I'm about halfway done with not this past week, but the previous week's Stardew Sundays, hence the slide tile here. And then it's editing last night's Breath of the Wild video. and then I'm fully caught up. So I have about 3 hours of raw video to edit, and then I'll be caught up. So that's the goal. So here's hoping. And that, I think, is so unfortunately, sorry for the short episode, but as I said, it's kind of it was not a whole lot happened, but what happened this week was kind of big. So and then Smash Brothers, it was just marveling at the roster, and just who we got into that game. So I am going to wrap things up here, just so that I can get a jump on getting this episode out, and then doing some other editing stuff. So thank you all for joining me for this episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. If you would like to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, you can check out 8-bitadventures.com, which will have comics, artwork, streams, podcasts, and more. If you would like to help support that content, please consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. I would like to give a big shout out to all of the current patrons. Thank you for keeping everything funded and keeping the lights on, for the projects themselves. And then finally, the opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. So this is where I'm going to sign off. So thank you again, everyone. Hope you stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy. And as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.